Have you ever been told that you can't sing? Look, I just said that and it made you feel a certain kind of way, didn't it? If so, go make yourself a cup of cafecito, come back, and let's chat. Hola, my friend. Thanks for joining me again for another cup of cafecito with the coach. Here's what's in my cup and here's what's in my heart, okay? Because what we're gonna talk about today is something that is so pivotal for the singer who wants to perform and share their voice. That moment, however long ago, when a teacher, a mentor, a director said, you can't sing, you can't fill in the blank, belt, you can't riff, you can't hit this note, you shouldn't sing this part, don't sing that song, it's not suited for you. All the no's, all the can'ts, all the don'ts. It's probably built this framework for you of so many things that you just believe you cannot do because you were told you could not do them. Obviously, it makes me feel a certain kind of way as a voice coach when I'm working with singers and we're discussing basically their performance history and they're telling me these stories of why they believe this certain narrative about their voice. It's hard. It's a really hard thing to navigate, but today we're here to break down a couple of things that I hope will bring some clarity for you and how to move forward or try to get unstuck in that narrative that has amplified, I'm sure, the inner critic for you and has contributed to both the mental and vocal tension that you may be experiencing, and that's preventing you from achieving the results that you want in your singing. So first off, let's clarify something. You can sing. As long as you do not have a medical anatomical condition that is preventing you from phonating, otherwise known as creating sound, you have the capability of singing. This is what I will add to that. If you have the desire to sing and to learn coordination and to learn and develop this skill, then yes, my friend, you can sing. And that desire to learn and the work that you're gonna put in to your craft will make you the singer that you want to be. Okay, so let's just establish that first. So if you've been told that you can't sing in any capacity, I'm kind of speculating here a little bit. I imagine that that person is using very overgeneralized terms to try to identify maybe the skill that you were trying to work on. And maybe it was just a taste test thing. Maybe they didn't like the way that it sounded, which in and of itself, that's a whole nother conversation. And it's one that's happening in the voice teaching community about being careful how we speak to singers, being careful about taking on this authority to diagnose even vocal medical problems when you don't have the credentials to do so, okay? Like, leave it up to the medical professionals when it is a voice health issue. And if there is something that needs to be addressed, we've got to get specific. We've got to get specific. And that's a conversation for you too, my friend. So when you're thinking, oh, I just don't like the way that I sing, I don't like the way that I sound, what exactly about that is not pleasing to the ear? So let's talk about two things in particular that will hopefully get you unstuck, okay? First off, I want you to think about one song in particular where you were told that you shouldn't sing that song. All right, it's story time with Mel. Back in college, I was a voice major and I studied vocal pedagogy and music ministry. In my private voice training, I was allowed to sing classical music, contemporary music. I was allowed to work on it all. But in terms of the vocal technique that I was being taught, it was the Italian school of singing, classical. The problem is that all the components of classical singing do not apply to contemporary sounds. I can't use the same very open vowel drop jaw positioning to also sing my favorite Whitney Houston songs. And I will always love you. Not quite the sound that I'm going for, but that's what I knew. And I was also starting to audition for community theater as well as book professional gigs. So when I started working in the professional theater realm, and thankfully still being cast in some of these contemporary shows, I was working with some of the same musical directors. And I remember being a part of a jazz review in particular, where this musical director who knew my voice and was working with me said this phrase. She said it in jest, but it is something that would really set off some big insecurities for me in my 20s and 30s when it came to my contemporary singing. She said, "We're gonna beat the classical training out of you." But those words were very powerful for me, because from then on, I had a very confusing narrative between musical directors and other voice professionals where I thought I was mixing, but they would tell me it was a belt. I thought I was belting, but they said, no, you're actually mixing, or you're just raising the chest voice too high. So many voices. And I believed it for years that I was incapable of belting. I was incapable of creating the contemporary musical theater sound that everybody was trying to create at the time when Kristen Chenoweth and Idina Menzel were starring in Wicked, and everybody was trying to mimic those sounds. My voice does not sound like that. My belt technique, my own mixing technique is not going to sound like that. So it wasn't until recently, again, finding voice teachers who have helped me navigate all those muddy waters of insecurity and learning updated vocal science and information on this, I have been able to revisit some of those songs that I was told were not meant for me and achieve the desired sound that I want. It feels good to sing, and I really enjoy the sound of my voice. One of those songs in particular is Don't Rain on My Parade, which for so many, it's untouchable. But here's what I did, and here's what I want to encourage you to try today. Take a song that in whatever season of your life you were told, you probably shouldn't do that one. I don't think that one's meant for you. Or maybe it's just a song that you were working on in whatever capacity when you were told you couldn't do fill in the blank. So for me, it was Don't Rain on My Parade. And what I did is I sang it in a completely different style. I sang it really jazzy, really thoughtful, almost with a very Billie Eilish, Olivia Rodrigo approach to incorporating and highlighting my head voice. So if you want to check out the arrangement, I'm going to link it right here. But here's what happened. I actually started enjoying this song again because that inner critic narrative that I attached to that song started to fade away. And I was rediscovering what I could do. I approached it with play and experimentation. Those two things, playfulness and experimentation in your voice practice, can start to dampen those huge, big voices of you can't do this, the desire for perfectionism, which hello does not exist because none of us are perfect. Try that today and see how you feel. See if all of a sudden you rediscover the joy of singing that song and also celebrating what your voice can do. Not long after I did that with that particular song, I did go back and sing it in a contemporary musical theater style in which it's performed in the show Funny Girl. And I enjoyed my sound, my style of mixing, my style of belting without trying to compare it to Barb or Leah Michelle or Bernie or anybody else. Now, part of also enjoying your sound comes with the support of having voice training. During that season, those 2 decades of my life, I was, again, working with a variety of directors. I relocated to a new city and I didn't have the means or the scheduling in that busy season of my life to seek regular voice lessons. So, I did do YouTube searches, and shout out to Carrie Ho from the Songbird Tree, who was one of those saving graces during that time to help me get my belt back to a desired sound and really learn this is what my voice is supposed to sound like when I engage the skill. I was able to audition and book local shows again and feel confident in my sound, in the way that I was doing it. So when you're able to invest in voice training, whether it be in the capacity of private voice lessons or an online course, knowing that you've made that investment of both time and money is a huge motivating factor. And the beauty is that working with a voice coach allows you to get customizable work, customizable vocal exercises, custom songs that are suited for your sound. So my friend, if you have been waiting for a sign from the universe to let you know it's time to invest, take this conversation as your sign. There are thousands upon thousands of voice coaches in the world because we have billions of people on the planet with different styles of singing, and we need all of them. We need all of them to help us achieve what we want to achieve. If you have this deep sense of knowing, yep, it's time for me to take a step and invest in my own voice training, I would love to chat with you. We can do this very same thing on a free consultation call so that we can come up with a plan that works for your voice. And if it's been a long time since you've taken a voice lesson, or this is the first time you've ever considered it, I am working on a special program that will help you start singing. It's coming in January. So make sure that you also subscribe to my newsletter because my subscribers are gonna be the first to know about this special offer coming in the new year. My friend, if you love to sing, you are a singer. I picked this mug purposely. It's one that my mom gave me, and it has the scripture from Psalm 139 that says, I praise you for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. You and your voice are fearfully and wonderfully made. Hasta la próxima.